I live and die for Michigan, but if they get beat by Ohio State again, this guy, in my opinion, and what's yours, he has to be let go. He's been there for 7 years, and if we can't beat the enemy, what's your opinion about that? And when are we going to beat Ohio State again?
Well,
it's driving me crazy.
I got to say that I will compare it to the situations involving Mark Richt at the time at Georgia and Les Miles at LSU. They both compiled, they both compiled high winning percentages, and Les Miles even won a national championship. So that the comparison doesn't work out perfectly. But my point was that they were not meeting expectations for a period of time prior to their firing. If anyone would ask, based on the standard of holding most jobs in America, are these individuals doing a good job? You would say, yes, they're doing a good job. Would I say that Jim Harbaugh is a capable college football coach, and does he do a good job? I would answer that question, yes. The issue is that he is being paid, and I know that the contract was, of course, restructured going into this season, but let's take it back a year, being paid elite money to produce elite results. So the catch-22 is not that you're being paid to go 8-4 and go to a bowl game. You're being paid to produce championship results. And when you continue to fail and not meet the standard, you can still turn in a good season. But when that standard's not met for now a 7th time, yeah, I think they have every justification to fire him. I think they also have a justification to say, hey, we had a nice season at 10-2, and we think he's on the right path, and we like the results and the upgrade of the offense and the defense this year, and we'll give it another go. I can live with either. Again, I don't have an emotional investment in it. As I told Steve yesterday or the day before when we were recording, right out of the gate, I said, Steve, I take a measured approach on all these Michigan takes that you ask me to deliver, but I understand I've got no emotional investment. And if this was going on at Ohio State, I'd say, heads should be rolling. I get it.
And that's right. That's exactly right. And I tell people today, Mark, that incidentally, you have the best first name in the world because that's my first name. But incidentally, if we had your coach right now, if we could exchange, the Wolverine fans would say, "Oh my goodness gracious, we would rather have your coach right now than Harbaugh." And I've asked all my friends that question, and it just and you said before in your show, because you have a phenomenal show, that you're not mentally invested like I am. I'm an old man now, and I'll never forget the '69 game, and that's when I got hooked, when we beat Woody, and that was probably the biggest upset in Michigan's history. And but I'm still, I'm closing in on 70, but I played in the big house back in my day in our spring football game at Eastern Michigan.
Nice.
And it still drives me crazy. We can't beat you guys.
Yeah, and there is some type of an anomaly factor there, because if Ohio State wins 20 consecutive games against Maryland, no one's going to bat an eye. But if there hasn't been that much of a discrepancy, and as you well know, people are swayed by recency bias, and the most recent has been 2 blowouts. But there are a lot of close games in that stretch as well.
A couple. Right. One went to overtime, a couple, right. And we came out on the losing streak. And also, I may add, when you just mentioned Maryland, Mark, and you're so astute with college football, that's why I love listening to your show, is that when the Big Ten, and I still call it the Big Ten, why in God's name, this is a whole different subject, we're going to include Rutgers and Maryland to enter the conference, the Big Ten? That's the biggest joke in the world, but that's a different subject. And I could go on and on and on, but I just have to say that I love your show, and I get the biggest kick out of listening to your show.
I appreciate that, Mark. I think that the Big Ten made a misjudgment there when it came to Maryland and Rutgers, and what it was is it's hard to make big decisions, certainly, when it involves multi-million dollars and, huge moving pieces. But it's even more difficult to project the future. Very few people can have that vision to see where industry trends are going and how to get in front of it. And the Big Ten was kind of the victim of that, meaning that one of the huge reasons why they went and grabbed Maryland and Rutgers was to grab the cable homes in Baltimore, Washington, D.C., and New York City, not realizing that the digital age was just on the cusp of exploding. And those cable homes, number one, those people don't care about college football for the most part. And if they do,
that's correct.
They're transplants that probably are Notre Dame, Michigan, or Ohio State fans. That's been most of the polling and surveying I've heard out of New York City is that those are the three most popular college football teams in New York City: Michigan, Ohio State, and Notre Dame. So that they somehow missed that analysis of the sports landscape. Number one. Number two is that the cable industry is dying. It's still prominent, it's still huge, but it's dying a slow death. And they made a judgment call when digital media is taking over, and they went and got two bad football programs just for other reasons. They went and got Nebraska because it's Nebraska football. They went and got Maryland and Rutgers football because it's location and because of the cable connection.
That's correct. Yeah, and Mark, again, I have never in my life seen a bigger choke job. And these are third quarter with a 16-point lead. And you don't think I want to see Harbaugh? He has to be gone. If he doesn't beat Ohio State this year, you have to fire him. That's the biggest choke job I've ever seen in my entire life. And I played at Eastern Michigan Division I back in my day. I cannot believe what I saw. And I could go on and on and on. But again, I love your show, Mark. And I'm a lifetime listener.